is brought to you in part by your Chicago area and Northwest Indiana Lexus dealer, who invites you to test drive a Lexus today. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois. Through it all. Audi. Truth in engineering. Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. And by Toyota. See where Toyota takes you. Test drive one at your Toyota dealer. Toyota, let's go places.
Welcome back to Kauffman Stadium for the start of the 2015 championship baseball season as the Royals raise the 2014 American League Championship pennant. It was raised by Frank St. James, who's been a 40-year season ticket holder. And they presented the rings in a beautiful ceremony before the game. David Glass, the owner of the team, along with all the executives. And it was quite a sight. One that the Sox would love to emulate. Let's take a look at how Robin is going to line up our Sox for the inaugural. Adam Eaton leading it off with Melky Cabrera in the 2 spot. Then it's Jose Abreu. Adam LaRoche, the designated hitter. Avisail Garcia, Alexi Ramirez, Connor Gillespie, Tyler Flowers, and Micah Johnson. After a big spring by Micah. The defense and how they'll line up behind Yordano Ventura. Alex Gordon, the Gold Glover, along with Lorenzo Cain, a magnificent center fielder, and Alex Rios playing right. Then it's Moustakas, Escobar, Infante, and Hosmer in the infield. Salvador Perez behind the plate. And our Lexus pursuing perfection starting pitcher is Yordano Ventura. 14-10 last year in his rookie year, his ERA 3.20. He has got a big fastball, a terrific curve, and yet his ERA over 5.5 against our Sox. The umpires for the game this afternoon. Jerry Lane behind the plate, and he's the crew chief. Hunter Wendelstedt is at first, Bob Davidson at second, and David Rackley is at third. So it's a misty day. A little cool, but nice for this time of year in Kansas City. The weatherman said he'll cooperate. There shouldn't be any disruption in this ball game today, as the Sox look to kick it off in good stead against a very tough Royals team who improved their bullpen, probably lost a little in their starting rotation. They think with Kendrys Morales in this lineup that the offense is going to be better, and it probably will have to be this year. So as they throw it around the infield, and we're ready to start the ball game and kick it off for the 2015 season. I'm ready to turn it over to my play-by-play partner in this, his 50th season in professional baseball, Ken Harrelson.
Thanks, Stevie. No, 50th Major League opener.
50th opener.
56 in baseball. But once again, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to opening day. Let's do it. Let's do this thing. We got a good ball club. We should have a lot of fun this year. And right now, our leadoff hitter, Adam Eaton, against the 23-year-old right-hander who, I believe, had the highest average fastball in the American League last year at 97.
That is a big average fastball, 97 each and every time you throw it. But if you don't get it over the plate, you've got some problems. Last year he got it over. Maybe the adrenaline might work against him early in this one. And the best time to get young pitchers, or most pitchers, jump on him early.
Three and 0 the count. Ball 4. There's one.
The game conditions 59 degrees, and it is misty.
Not a seat to be had, and not much standing room either. There's a payoff pitch. Softly hit, sounded like a broken bat. So a good comeback for Ventura. Here's Cabrera. Cabrera, last year, of course, with Toronto, Hit .301, 16 homers, and drove in 73. Had a good spring. And one of the trio of outfielders we feel is the best certainly in the American League and maybe all of baseball. And certainly, Steve, as we talked about in the opening, the best 1-2-3 punch we've had. I know in all the time I've been here and all the time you've been here.
A lot of speed and a good on base percentage, as well as getting to 3, 4, and 5 in that batting order. Should produce a whole lot of runs, as Melky Cabrera, very familiar with this ballpark. He had 305 here in 2011. That year he collected 201 hits. There's about it.
There's about a 54-footer.
You'd love to be able to get to Ventura before he's able to get command of what is an excellent curveball, actually a combination curveball slider, but he throws a lot of strikes with it.
And there's the base hit. That's exactly what Steve was just talking about. Yeah, if you let that little guy get his rhythm and get into that rhythm and stay there, you got a long afternoon.
Well, that was a rolling curveball, and it stayed over the middle of the plate. Not getting the break quite yet. Melky apparently loves to hit in this ballpark. It is a good hitter's background. It's just spacious dimensions. But he's on base, and we're going to see a whole lot of that ahead of Abreu, LaRoche, and Garcia.
Here's Abreu. Last year's unanimous Rookie of the Year. And this should be. Rack him up, and that'll do it. After half inning of play, it's our guys nothing, and the defending American League champ Kansas City Royals coming to bat.
Alcides Escobar leading it off. Mike Moustakas surprisingly in the 2 spot. Then it's Kane, Hosmer, and Morales in the middle, with Gordon, Rios, Perez, and Infante rounding it out. The defense, and out they'll line up behind Jeff Samardzija, Cabrera, Eaton, and Garcia in the outfield. Connor Gillespie, Alexei Ramirez, Micah Johnson, and Jose Abreu in the infield. Tyler Flowers gets a nod behind the plate. And our Lexus pursuing perfection starting pitcher is Jeff Samardzija. Last year, you can throw out the win-loss record. They didn't score a lot of runs for him. His ERA terrific. Strikeouts to walks outstanding. He's got a great splitter, cuts it, and a pretty big fastball when he needs it.
First pitch strike to their very fine shortstop, who I think is the second best shortstop in the American League behind our Alexei Ramirez. This is Alcides Escobar. That's foul back. And we talked about Samardzija, threw a lot of home runs in spring training. And a lot of them on the slider, which were just spirals out in Arizona.
Here it'll break a whole lot more, and that splitter should wipe out a whole lot of hitters, so a lot of pressure will fall to Tyler Flowers, especially when he gets ahead 2 strikes, throws a splitter. The best one's going to wind up in the dirt. You got to smother that. You got to keep Escobar off. He stole 31 last year, and he's a good base stealer.
And that's into right center field. That's a can of corn. So 1 down. And it'll bring in Moustakas. And in my opinion, I said it last year, the last couple of seasons I thought that they had him in the wrong spot. When a young man who's got this much talent struggled like he has the last couple of seasons, you got to do something to change his focus. And by changing his focus, I mean not working on his swing or his mechanics, but give him some responsibilities at the plate. Now he's going to have responsibilities in that 2-hole.
Well, he's also a dead pull hitter, and that will hold him in good stead because he's going to be able to take the ball through the right side when Escobar is aboard. Plus, being a left-hand hitter, the catcher is not going to get as good a look at Escobar to find out when he's going. And he is a contact hitter for a guy with a lot of power.
Yeah, it's going to get his thoughts out in front of the plate rather than everything behind the plate. When you're thinking as a hitter, for you youngsters out there in high school and college, you want to be major league hitters. If you go to the plate and you're thinking and your thoughts are where your hands are, where your feet are when you're at the plate, you're probably going to go 0 for 4. That's a pretty good rip right there just underneath it on a bad cookie that he got away with. You got to get those thoughts out in front of the home plate.
Now they got the shift on. And you got Micah Johnson in right field. Gillespie playing a straightaway shortstop.
Checks it up, fouls it off.
Moustakas hit 5 postseason home runs last year. It wasn't a great year for him overall, but he turned it on in the postseason. Still hit 15 home runs in 140 games.
Tess did get a piece of that one. Well, back in 1983, our offense was struggling. We started off 14 and 26, 12 games under. And then La Russa made a change. He put the least likely candidate in that lineup into the 2-hole.
A big catcher.
That was him.
A big catcher, Carlton Fisk.
And he got going. All of a sudden, the top of our order got going. Then Harrell started knocking in runs. The Bull Luzinski started knocking in runs. Ron Kittle started knocking in runs. And we wound up winning 99 games. And primarily because of a couple moves. That move and then the acquisition of Julio Cruz, of course, later on.
Well, this ball club this year with this schedule is not going to have the luxury of being able to get off to that slow a start and battle for what's going to be a very competitive Central.
Well, there's 4 teams in this division that can win it. I'm picking us to win it, and I'm picking Kansas City to finish second. He gone. Good changeup.
As Moustakas way out in front of it. Good late movement. The Jeff Samardzija we saw in spring training is not going to be close to the Jeff Samardzija we're going to see. You're not going to find too many more competitive guys than Jeff. And we knew all spring that when the bell rang, he would be a completely different guy. Not that 2 hitters can judge anything, but the stuff is going to be a whole lot crisper than it was in Arizona.
Well, in my career as a player, and then in all the time I've been in baseball, some of the greatest pitchers I've ever seen or faced all had horrendous ERAs in spring training, and once that bell rang, forget it. High pop up by Lorenzo Cain, and a nice 1-2-3 inning for Samardzija. And after 1, no score.
And we now welcome in Dan Hayes from CSNChicago.com. And Dan, you've got some Chris Sale news for us.
Yeah, Stoney, you know, as if opening day isn't already the most wonderful time of year, the White Sox got even better news today. Chris Sale threw 73 pitches, cleared the final hurdle. They expect him to be back with the team tomorrow. He's set for a bullpen on Friday, and it looks like next Sunday is the day. Should be back with the team.
First pitch fastball popped up into left field. Alex Gordon, Golden Glove outfielder. In a corner, 1-out.
How did it go overall for Chris? I assume that he felt pretty good. He's obviously strong, and he wants to get out of Arizona. And of course, that will happen. But how do you look today?
From every report,
yesterday, right?
No, it was earlier today.
Oh.
And from every report, you know, everything went well. Rick Hahn said he felt great from what he had heard. Threw 73 pitches, struck out 7 over 5 innings. In his 2 games, you know, this was his second minor league game. Struck out 20 in the 11 innings he pitched. So the other day on the backfield, he had 13 strikeouts and really looked good, even though he wasn't quite as crisp as he wanted to.
Well, that's his competitive spirit. I don't think very seldom of his 30 starts he's going to have. Stevie, how many times do you think Chris Sale's going to say, I
had my greatest stuff?
Yeah, right.
Probably none. I'm a little unhappy with that 105th breaking ball that I threw.
Yeah, and that 3-hit shutout.
I'll have to work on that. But he did show something. If he ever goes back to the minor leagues, he's going to dominate those guys there.
I think we saw a little of that last year at AAA too. Just crazy numbers.
Here's Avi Garcia. Watch out. So he will go to first base. You know, it hadn't been said enough to me. The really heroes in this whole situation. You know, when you go into spring training and all of a sudden, the first day you find out you've lost your ace, okay, with 2 fractures in the foot. That's not a good way to start spring training. You don't know how long it's going to last. You don't know if he's going to change his motion, as Steve and I have seen guys do, change the motion. All of a sudden it hurts his arm or hurts his shoulder. And all of a sudden to come out and you're only going to lose 1 start from him and everybody else is healthy, that's a heck of a spring. And the 2 heroes here and their staff, Herm Schneider and Brian Ball.
But Rick Hahn said he breathed a sigh of relief. He's still not ready to fully commit to. He wants to see him in between the lines, but he's pretty excited. They thought of a lot of disastrous scenarios when they first got the news.
There's a strike to Alexei.
Did they talk about any type of pitch limits at all or innings limits when he comes up and makes that start on Sunday against the Minnesota Twins?
Well, I imagine that there will be something. They have not put a plan in place yet, but even you know it's different when it's minor leaguers versus major league, and you get on the mound in a big league game like that. And he's thrown 90 pitches so far. He tapered back down to 73 today, but you would think 90 to 100 is in the range, but they have not again announced the plan yet.
There was one reason that Kansas City last year became a team within 1 out of winning the World Series. Nothing hit the ground in that outfield. And that was one reason they were my selection. Is first of all, they had not a good offensive ball, but they didn't strike out much. They were last in home runs, but they caught everything and they covered the last 9 outs better than anything. And that's the same thing they're going to be doing this year.
Well, they figured to be a little bit better defensively because of Rios in right instead of Aoki, who didn't do a great deal in the outfield, but against us hit almost 500. And he was adequate in right field. Rios is better than that, and of course Kane and Gordon are magnificent in left and center field.
Ivy at first, 2 down, and there is Gillespie with that line shot. So Ivy's going to make the turn at second, and here Gillespie goes into second with that double. So 2 out. Runners at the corners, and we omitted in the first inning to tell you this is our first pick to click game, and we'll show you those picks to click later.
It's a base running by Connor Gillespie, and this really shows you the effects of Vince Coleman in spring training, because knowing that Rios was going away from the throw, he was heading to his left toward the line, had to make that throw to second base. He knew that Rios couldn't throw him out. So he goes in head first, and that's what's going to characterize this running game this year for the Sox. They're going to be always looking for the extra base.
Tyler takes down low. Well, You know, the mouth lies, the eyes don't. And when you see what we saw in spring training, the difference in the personality of our base runners on the pass, I think could be this year one of the big picks ups that Rick Hahn made indeed was Vince Coleman.
And you'd have to think, when you see Connor Gillespie, who's not one of the runners, do that, you can imagine what the guys who can really turn it on. We saw Adam Eaton trying to score from first on a single.
The first day of spring training, when Vince Coleman was there and addressed the guys, he told them, "I'm your can-do coach. Everybody's been telling you what you can't do. Stay close to the base. Don't be aggressive. Don't make outs." And he said, "I'm going to change that thinking." And they seem to have picked up on it.
They sure do. They busted their behinds. And as we talked about, base running can define a ball club. As he strikes him out, and he'll get out of it. So we have 2 on, 2 out, and that'll retire the side after an inning and a half, and stay another half inning with us. Crown as they face off with the dangerous Minnesota Wild. Chevy Blackhawks pregame live begins at 7 on Comcast Sportsnet. We're in the bottom of the second inning. No score. Eric Hosmer will lead it off. And still with us in the booth is our Dan Hayes from CSNChicago.com. And Dan, one of the things about the club this spring is everybody is optimistic going into spring training, and most of them are optimistic coming out unless they've had some severe injuries. But the attitude in that clubhouse was a little bit different than we've seen the last few years.
You just saw a lot of guys who they knew what they're doing. There was the last 10 days, Robin Ventura has talked about this just not being very crisp over those 10 days, but a lot of guys were ready to go. You have Adam LaRoche, who's been around for a long time. You've had David Robertson. They know what they need to be ready for a season, and they felt it 2 weeks ago. And you get that run, you know, guys admitted, Adam Eaton said it yesterday, we need to be cleaner. But there's a little bit of a 10-day run where the heat was unbearable, and you just had guys wanting to get out of there. And I think it probably translated to the field. That's what they were saying, and they expect to be able to turn it on when the lights are on.
Well, when you don't have adrenaline running, and they didn't, the veterans don't. Now, the young kids still trying on the bubble, trying to make a club. They still got it. But when the veterans left, the hitters don't need the last 2 weeks of spring training. Hosmer with the 2-1 count. So when you don't have adrenaline, you're going to look a little lethargic or sloppy.
And Robin Ventura really tried to stress that the last 2 days, that it's time to get going here. He doesn't want to hear the mentality that it's spring training. And they had a meeting about yesterday. It was a longer workout. I think they went a little bit longer than planned and had a meeting afterwards and worked on that for sure because he wants to see them turn the page.
You also just saw something in that Hosmer at bat that makes Jeff Samardzija very popular among his teammates. Abisail Garcia got hit by Yordano Ventura. And the first pitch, he pushed Hosmer back off the plate, didn't hit him, but let him know that when I'm on the mound, I'm going to protect my hitters. Don't think for a minute that that escaped all of the position players, the guys who come to bat against Ventura. He will stand up and protect them. He has his whole career.
Here's a guy that could be a big difference maker in this, obviously, in this lineup. Kendrys Morales. If he stays healthy, this guy is a tremendous offensive force. Unfortunately, last few years he has not been healthy.
No, he missed all of the 2014 spring training. Hit only .218 with 8 home runs, but he's a much better hitter than that. He was a great hitter till he shattered his ankle with the Angels. But Kansas City believes in this lineup he can produce once again, and as a switch hitter, he's invaluable.
And getting back to your point about Samardzija, first pitch to Hosmer. I think Samardzija is going to be out of that Don Drysdale school. You get one of mine, I'm going to get 2 of yours.
Yeah. He's going to let his presence be known, and he spun him out of there. And we're going to show you the first pitch. He didn't try to hit him, but he let him know that, hey, I'm not particularly happy with you hitting one of my guys, so the next one, well, maybe it gets a little closer.
That was just a good job by Hosmer getting out of the way.
Well,
most guys are going to spin right into it.
Right, he spun toward the catcher, which is the way you should do it.
Doing one of our young guys, some of them really showed us a lot, especially a guy like Courtney Hawkins.
There were a lot of Carlos Rodon had some really eye-opening performance. A lot of the White Sox front office was happy about that, obviously, but Courtney Hawkins really. Robin Ventura said he was the most improved player in camp from last year. You know, last year he only came up and would be a spare part, late inning substitution. And this spring he was around for the first 3.5 weeks, and they really liked the way he listened to the veterans and basically just kept working. And he talked about that, saying that he had a big 2 home run game with about 2 weeks to go, and he said, look, I need to be doing that kind of stuff every day. They need to be talking about what I did yesterday and not what I did a year ago. So he definitely was motivated. I think, you know, the White Sox wanted to show him that this is what it's like, and he went down and expected to start at AA Birmingham this year, and, you know, they think it's a good springboard for him to build off of.
Full count with 1 down here in the bottom of the second. If you're just joining us, no score. We have 2 hits. They have 9. Payoff pitch. Also, that pitch he got in on Hosmer on that 3-2 count broke his bat. Hit him up inside. And when you get, Steve knows. At one time, Steve was a very, very hard. My partner, Steve Stone, was a very hard thrower. He was the hardest thrower in the San Francisco organization. He threw 100. Yeah. Even as little, he's just a little bitty thing. But so is Yordany Ventura as he walks Morales. But the point being is when you get somebody out there that you know will pitch inside, it changes the sense of control between the hitter and the pitcher.
Used to be, in years past, a lot more intimidation factor because nobody padded up the lead elbow and the wrist and the hand as they do today. You can get that elbow actually over the inside corner and not worry about losing 2 months to a fractured elbow. That takes away some of the intimidation factor. But you're also available to play, which is a good thing.
Alex Gordon fouls it down. Alex. Just a tremendous defender in left field.
4-time Gold Glove winner, and actually the face of the franchise these days. George Brett for many years was the face of the franchise. To a whole lot of people, he always will be. But Alex Gordon to the new generation is the face of this franchise.
And as he hit him, so 2 on 1 out.
Tried to cut it, and unfortunately caught him on the thigh.
And here's old friend Alex Rios. Gordon last year at 266 with 19 homers for this team.
They talked about him being in the race for the MVP until about August, and then he just kind of started to settle and those numbers dropped.
Alex with Texas at 280. 4 homers, 54 knocked in. And a terrific guy, but a bit of an enigma because of the fact he can hit the ball just about as far as anybody.
He had a growth on his finger last year, and that really plagued him. Came about again this spring. But the Royals figure that they're better off with him in right field every day than what they had.
Chases a bad 2-0 pitch right there for him. So a walk, a hit batsman with 1 out. And when you go 2-0 in that situation, you better make a pretty good pitch or get some help from the hitter.
Well, you can turn a pair on Rios because normally he doesn't go full out on a ground ball in the infield.
Salvador Perez on deck.
And he just as soon get out of this inning without facing the man you're looking at. If not the best young catcher in the game, he's in the top 2.
All right, take your time. Well, Alex was going to make sure, as he should, that they were not going to get the throw off. So runners at the corners and now 2 down.
Well, Jeff went up a little early here. Actually caught the ball on the way down and then couldn't secure it right away, and that disrupted the flow of the play. So a good hard slide and a clean slide.
Yeah.
So no complaints about that. And no chance to get 2. Now, the roll at the end, you might get some umpires objecting to, but Bob Davidson felt that it was okay. One thing to slide, they don't allow you to roll at the end as they used to.
And there's the base hit down into the corner. That's going to score a pair, I believe. Now they're going to hold him. Let him get a big turn. And it's 1-0 Kansas City. So the leadoff walk scores.
I thought 2 were going to score here, but didn't work out that way as Rios puts on the brakes, gets back, and didn't see the relay throw get away from both of the relay men.
Can't ease up. This little guy right here, especially earlier in the season, is dangerous. Omar Infante. Seems like every year with the Tigers and last year with Kansas City gets off to a quick start. Hit .252 last year, 6 homers and knocked in 66. And that ball into right center field. We got a man there. And he'll make the catch. And Dan Hayes, thanks for stopping by, buddy. Hey, you clean up pretty good. Dan Hayes from CSN Chicago.
Miller Light.
It is 1-0 Kansas City. Top of the third inning. It'll be Micah Johnson, then back to the top of the order with Adam Eaton and Melky Cabrera. Micah takes ball one. Boy, what a spring he had. Very impressive. That's what he did last year at Charlotte. Crippled up last year with those bad hamstrings. I'll tell you what I think. What, in your opinion, what's the biggest difference in our club this year besides the speed and everything? What's the biggest difference in our club this year than the last couple of seasons?
Well, for me, the on-base percentage and the fact that maybe because of Vince Coleman or maybe because we have some guys who can run, this team is going to look for the extra base all through this lineup. Every guy has an aggressive approach to the at-bats, to the base running situations, to wherever he happens to be on the bases any given time. Always thinking not about the next one, but about the base after that.
You're right on the money. Right on the money. That's inside. The aggressiveness. This team has a different personality than one we've had the last couple of years. Not more than that. More than that. Last 4 or 5.
Well, assuming some of the burners get on, you're going to see a whole lot more of it.
Hits him on the fist. Foul play. And Gordon just can't get there. Boy, he gets good jumps up in left field.
Gordon's a terrific left fielder, but the one thing that I think that Micah is going to teach some of the left fielders in this league is that if you play him too shallow, because of him doing just that, fouling the ball off kind of short where the left fielder can't get to it, if you play him too shallow in left field, he's going to burn you. He's going to hit it over your head because he's strong enough to do that. And the major league debuts with an opening day start. Micah Johnson joins the club.
Slams that one down past Joe McEwing. Yeah, this is a different personality on this ball club. It's no longer 90 feet at a time. Gap out there in right center. Missed. No longer here. In fact, it was a 60% chance, according to Siri on my iPhone, of rain, but it was going to only start at 9 o'clock tonight. Once again, Siri, well, she's having a tough day.
Didn't take into consideration the mist factor.
No. Payoff pitch. Lights that one off.
This has been quite an at-bat. We're talking about the 10th pitch forthcoming, and that's one of the reasons of the value of Micah Johnson in the 9th spot when you roll around then to Eaton and to Cabrera. This is successful at bat regardless of the resolution.
Well, in my opinion, he has a chance to be the most productive 9th place hitter maybe in this league, and that being one of the reasons why.
Yeah, with his speed and the fact that he will surprise some people with his power, he's in line for a good one. And he keeps battling. Ventura keeps throwing the ball low and in. It's going on the 12th pitch of the at bat. Particularly important early in the season when you know these pitchers are not going to go over 100 pitches. Many of them will go 90 if there's some under duress. And Sox lineup is making Ventura work a little bit harder than he would like early in the game.
Well, between Johnson and Eaton, there will be times this year, more than a few times, that between those two guys, one hitting 9th, the other hitting 1st, that they will have 9 or 10 pitch at bats. You're talking about 20, 21, 22 pitches between those two hitters.
Eaton had a 6-pitch at bat the first time up, and this one is going on pitch number 13.
Made a good pitch on him and on the fist, and that's out number 1. Well, first of all, two things that really bugged me a lot. I think my favorite pet peeve today is a pitch count. That's my favorite. And the next thing is trying to get hitters to go deep in the counts. Those two things right there just eat me alive. Because when you start trying to take young hitters who for the most part have been aggressive, that's the reason they're in the big leagues, and you try to tell them, well, we want you to go deep in the counts. What you're doing is you're taking some of that aggressiveness and that offensive mindset away from them.
I don't think they tell either of these guys that. It's just that
they don't.
When you have the ability to foul off good pitches, battling at bats.
Lorenzo Cain. So Adam is retired. 2 down. And they'll bring up Cabrera. Milky. Got just a rolling curveball, a cookie to hit. Hit it hard in the hole between first and second. No, Todd Stevenson's doing a terrific job. You always have to work on fundamentals. There's no question about that. And there's a place in extra batting practice and in batting practice sometimes to get your thoughts behind the plate when you're thinking about where your hands are and stuff. But once that bell rings and that game starts, you better have that approach in your mind, and that's what Trick's trying to get them to do. And your thoughts go from behind the plate to in front of the plate. Uh-oh. They just go. Good play. Good play on both parts. They just get it 1, 2, 3 inning. We go to the bottom of the third. It's 1-0 Kansas City.
A season to an Achilles tendon tear. Watch the foot of Ventura. Way too much of the bag. You have to have it on the corner of the bag. Now he's fortunate he had a little time to remove it before Melky flies by. You just don't want to keep your heel where a base runner can get to it, and he got away with it. He got lucky.
Top of the order here in the bottom of the third. Escobar got a pretty good pitch to hit and fouls it away. Well, if you err, you err on the side of caution as far as you better get over there in a hurry. If you don't get over there and you get over there late, that's when bad things happen.
Yeah, you got to get over there, locate the bag. And unfortunately, he thought he was going to make the catch of that little chopper and couldn't get to it. But he's got a terrific first baseman in Hosmer, and he got to it, shoveled him the ball quickly enough to get the out.
Slams that one foul. 1-2 the count. Well, this club last year struck out fewer times than anybody in the American League. Put the ball in play.
That happens a lot when you have a team that doesn't hit a whole lot of home runs. And this team, because of the hitters obviously and also because of the ballpark, didn't do that. But you put the ball in play, you put the pressure on the defense, and then you have a few good base stealers, and you're in good shape.
They were the only team to strike out less than 1,000 times.
There were some teams that did that seemingly the beginning of August.
Seems like some players did it. 2-2. Finally got a pitch up out of the plate that he could hit, and hit it he did. So there's the leadoff double. That's a good at bat by Escobar.
Escobar fouled off some good pitches away and then got one on the outer portion of the plate. Took it into right field. And then his speed got him into second base.
Well, his coverage from the middle of the plate out is as good as anybody in this league. And he has really become a good offensive player.
Now we'll see if Moustakas can do what Ned Yost put him in the 2 spot to do, which is pull the ball in this situation and move along Escobar.
He gets the job done on sacrifice bunt.
Opening day at U.S. Cellular Field will again welcome a sellout crowd. For fans joining us at the ballpark on Friday, April 10th, be sure to arrive early and don't miss a minute of the action. Parking lots open at 11 a.m. for tailgating. Gates to the ballpark open at 1:10, and be sure to be in your seats by 2:25 for the start of an exciting opening ceremony.
Well, that's the reason we touched on that at Moustakas' first at bat is one reason I think he should have been in that 2-hole the last couple of years. Change his focus. You've got to change the guy's focus who struggled like he has. All of a sudden now he feels real good about himself.
Well, also, if he stops trying to hit home runs, he probably will hit more because he's strong enough.
He's strong enough to hit 30 easy.
Yeah.
And I don't care what park you're playing in.
Infield in at all 4 positions as Robin realizes with Ventura on the mound, you can't give away a run. You're already down 1.
And a lot of that thinking also was in the fact that he knows what's sitting out in that bullpen.
You get 2 down and you've gotten through 6. That bullpen makes it stand up almost every time.
Kane lays off that one. Lorenzo popped up, hit a high pop up to Alexei. High pop up right side, could be a lot of trouble. It is, and it is 2-0 on that little duck snort by Lorenzo Kane. So a good at bat by Escobar pays off because of the bunt by Moustakas.
Pretty good pitch in a good spot by Samardzija with the infield in. He kept the ball down, and Kane hit it off the end of the bat. Couldn't have thrown it out there any better. Falls in the triangle. And then Kane thinking about going to second base as Avi went down, but he righted himself in time.
That'll bring up Hosmer, the first baseman. 2 runs on 3 hits, no errors for them. No runs on 2 hits, no errors for us. Year-old first baseman. There he goes. Safe on the third base side.
So Gainer swiped 28 last year with his first this year. Got a good jump. Not a great throw.
Well, they right now probably are the poster child for playing little ball here in the American League.
In this ballpark, you really have to manufacture some runs. I mean, you'll hit the occasional home run, but you got to manufacture most of them.
You got to catch it, which they can do. You got to run it, which they can do, and you got to cover the last 9 outs, which they can do.
They do that real well. They led the American League with 153 steals last year and showing signs that they're going to try to do it again.
Breaking ball strike.
They got Luke Hochevar back. 2 years ago, he was a revelation, moving from the starting rotation to the bullpen. Last year they did that same thing with Wade Davis, who became one of the great relievers in all of baseball. This is just a solid pen top to bottom.
Well, Billy Butler was a tremendous offensive player for them. But the only difference in he and Kendrys Morales is protecting. There's a ground ball to Abreu. Protecting, in this case, Hosmer. Because Hosmer still, in my opinion, has a chance to be a monster.
Well, I got to believe that as young as he is, as talented as he is, we're going to see much better than a 270 batting average. He's going to hit more home runs than the 9 he hit last year. And look, he already is a magician with the glove at first base. Makes every infielder better because he scoops low throws very well. But you're right, along with Hosmer, sky's the limit as far as their ability to be productive offensively. They just haven't lived up to it quite yet.
Everything is contagious in baseball. And everybody talks about this ballpark. When you got low fences like this, it's really for guys who can hit home runs. You can hit home runs in this ballpark. It's a little tougher than it is in a lot of them. Okay. But those low fences make a lot of difference. And when you're a club that doesn't hit a home runs, as I said, they hit fewer than anybody in baseball last year at 95. Everybody gets into that mode. Conversely, if you got a few guys who are going to hit home runs, then it takes them up a little bit. Ratchets that up a step. It's 3-0.
Toughest part about catching Jeff Samardzija is the ability to block that splitter. This one dove low and in, was well in front of the plate. Actually went between the arm of Tyler Flowers. Would have been a very difficult ball to knock down.
Yeah.
So that was a wild pitch.
That breaking ball misses. Here's the walk. Second time Morales has walked. And the second walk issued by Jeff. And here's Gordon. He was hit pretty hard by a pitch. Takes it up, takes a strike. First of a 3-game set, half day tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, it'll be Jose Quintana against Danny Duffy. A couple of southpaws in that one. Then in the finale of this 3-game set, before we return home to tee it up with Minnesota in our home opener on Friday, it'll be Johnny Danks against Edison Volquez. Volquez, a right-hander, 13-7 last year with a 3.04 ERA. He's capable.
They got him knowing that he wasn't going to be James Shields, but they desperately needed another starter, and Volquez was the guy.
Good strike inside corner.
Little did the Royals know when they drafted Alex Gordon in the first round that he wouldn't start at third base. They, I don't think, could envision the fact that he'd win 4 Gold Gloves in left field. But he had his problems at third, no problems at all in left.
That's high into right center field. That's a can of corn. But they pick up a pair. And we're into the 4th. We trail it 3-0. The 2005 Chicago White Sox relive the unforgettable moments and memories from the World Series winning season with former players, coaches, celebrities, and more. Believe premieres Sunday night at 7 on Comcast Sportsnet. Don't miss it. One strike to Abreu. Jose hit into a 5 for 3 double play. And a count 0-2.
Ventura really doesn't have a straight change that the rival of the real good pitchers. He's still young, at a big fastball, and he throws his curve a couple of different speeds, and that approximates a straight change.
High into right field. Alex. 1 out.
Sox fans, opening day is April 10th at 3:10 versus the Twins. All fans ages 21 and over will receive a 2015 White Sox magnetic schedule presented by Miller Lite, the official light Pilsner and official beer of your Chicago White Sox.
Adam LaRoche hit the first pitch he saw, a fastball high into left field. And crew chief Jerry Lane behind the plate. Strike, and now they put the shift on.
Moustakas actually is on the first base side of second, which really makes sense. Why move the shortstop from the position he plays all the time? And he's the guy that has to have the most range in your infield, yet there's a lot of teams that move the shortstop where Moustakas is standing, and they let their third baseman, who doesn't have near the range of the shortstop, play shortstop.
Plus, you're making two guys out of position rather than one. It's crazy.
It's one of those things that just everybody says, well, slide over one spot.
Well, the shift is not new to baseball by any stretch of the imagination. Whitey Herzog was an absolute terrific manager, an absolute terrific evaluator of talent as he strikes him out. So 2 down. And many times Whitey would play 4 outfielders. And there were a couple times last year, I think we saw Toronto, not against us, I saw it on the highlights watching MLB, that they had 4 infielders on the right side. It was funny looking because they're all in a line, like they're in formation in military school. Here's Garcia. He was hit by a pitch.
Last year, interrupted by shoulder surgery.
Well, there's been a lot of conversation about the shift, and some even further conversation about doing something to prevent it, which I don't know why they want to change this beautiful game we've had for over 100 years. I saw a terrific show last night, one of the best I've seen in a long time. Watching MLB, we had an off day. I was in my room having a little room service. The Insiders. It was really fun. They had Harold and Smoltz, Chris Russo, Tom Verducci. That's down to third, and Brian Kenny was the moderator. It was high throw, but they get him, and that'll retire the side. So that's 7 in a row retired by Ventura.
Micah Johnson, obviously making his first opening day start, told me he was expecting to be a little nervous, a little anxious. This is a guy who speaks French, who speaks Spanish, who plays guitar and plays piano. But one of the toughest things for him is keeping himself focused when he's out there in the infield. He says he counts the number of ground balls he gets, and if he's not getting double digits, he can find his mind wandering. Now, the team knows that there's going to be a learning curve with this young player, but the upside and the potential is huge for him. Obviously, he's in that 9-hole today. They do expect him to eventually move up as the season goes on. Hawk and Steve, back to you.
All right, thank you very much, Jen, as Alex Rios takes a curveball strike. We're in the bottom of the fourth, and we spotted a good team and a very good pitcher. 3 runs. It's 3-0 Royals. Gap out there in left center. Rios with a broken bat, single into left field. So the leadoff man aboard. But getting back to that show I was watching last night, it actually was one of the most enjoyable and entertaining roundtable discussions about baseball that I've seen in a long time. I mean, all those guys had some good points and some bad ones, but they were having fun with it, and it got to be really fun. Even Brian Kenny had some good points.
I love the way to defeat the shift. Hit the ball where there aren't any players.
Harold, I'll tell you, Harold always has good points, as does Smoltz too. Harold's the same way. Harold said, look, you're in the big leagues. If you can't hit the ball the other side of the field, go home. Okay? Especially when you're trying to help your team. Now, if you're just going for yourself, that's a different agenda. And Smoltz brought up a very germane point. And it's so true in many cases, not all, but in many cases, of one word. There he goes. They didn't pick up the ball. They're going to get him at first base. He gone.
That was a terrific deke by Micah Johnson, because Alex didn't pick up the ball and Micah Johnson acted as if there was going to be a play at second base, and Rios was still at second. Now watch Micah. He gets down, looked like he's going to make a play. Well, no chance. And Rusty Kuntz is yelling, get back. He's the first base coach. And you see Micah there. Alex doesn't pick it up. Bad base running. And a good double play.
Boy, this didn't take long. He needed a quick inning. And he's going to get it, as Melky does the right thing. Takes charge, calls him off. And we will go to the 5th.
Join us at U.S. Cellular Field for an exciting 2015 White Sox baseball season. The Pick 7 plan offers fans a flexible 7-game plan that features savings off the 2015 individual game ticket prices. Pick 7 plans start as low as $55 per plan. For tickets or more information, visit whitesox.com or call 312-674-1000.
We only have 2 hits, no runs here through 4. And it'll be Alexei with the ball hard into left center field. A nice catch by Gordon. But getting back to Schmaltz and what he said about hitters not going to the opposite field was so true, and probably at least 80 to 85% of the cases is good breaking ball. Ego. And it's true. There are a lot of guys who their ego won't let them go that way. They're going to try to, I'm going to drive that ball through that shift.
Well, if you're Ted Williams, that's a good idea.
There's a beautiful timing play by the second best shortstop in the league, because the best shortstop just hit it to him.
Escobar right at the top, able to make this catch, robbing Alexei of a base hit. And what would have been a very promising start to the 5th. See some more defensive heroics from a very good defensive team.
And Alexei now 0 for 2 with 2 hard hit balls. But there were some good points brought up by Chris Russo and Tom Verducci. Really an I want to congratulate those guys on a very entertaining show last evening. Brian did a terrific job moderating it. Outfield around to the right. Gap out there in left center. You know, one of the things about hitters not hitting to the opposite field when the shift's on is because they're standing in the same place in the box as they stand if there's not a situation where they should be going to the right side or the opposite field. If you're going to go to the opposite field, you've got to back off that plate, so that will cure your mechanics. If you let your thoughts dictate your mechanics rather than your mechanics dictate your thoughts, now you got a chance. Because if I'm a right-handed hitter, if I want to go to the right side in a situation that's going to help my ball club, I'm not going to stand on top of the plate like I normally do. I'm going to back off that plate where I have got to go into the ball. That's going to take care of the mechanics.
So the thought process of trying to pull and be a run producer when you're leading off an inning and you're looking for somebody on base. I mean, we see the same shift. You see it all the time on the guys they shift on. They shift with nobody out, thinking, well, I'll take away the power. Yeah, you can take away the power, but you also have a man on base if he goes that way, because nobody's home. For a left-hand hitter, nobody's home on the right side. Right-hand hitter, nobody's home on the left side.
Again, it's every game has its own personality, and every game has its own circumstances. I might be in a situation where I'm not swinging the bat as well as I'd like to, and I'm leading off an inning. We're down 2 runs or 3 runs. Okay, and they got a shift on me. Now, if I don't go to the right side or try to go to the right side, even if you fail, your teammates are going to see what you did, and they're going to appreciate that. So that is chemistry. And you got to back off. You create your own strike zone that will allow you a better chance to go that way. Now, if I'm swinging the bat real good and we're down 1 run, then no, I'm going to try to maybe get me a pitch and hit it out of there. So it's a circumstance thing, but that's why I think Stevenson is doing such a good job with our guys. He's trying to get them out there in front. He's trying to give them the approach, and that is the key word. It's not mechanics, it's approach. I'll try to be dangerous against a guy like Giordano Ventura.
Not an easy thing, as he very rarely walks anybody. He's only given up a couple of hits today. But he throws a lot of pitches in the zone, and fortunately, the first walk of the afternoon picked up by Connor Gillespie.
Here's Tyler. He struck out in the 2nd inning. That was our best shot. We had men on 2nd and 3rd. 2 down. Outfield straight up, spread out about equidistant. And once again, happy belated Easter for all of you out there. And also opening day 2015. And you and I talked about it in spring training. We talked about it last year. In today's game, the way it's going, chemistry has never been more important.
No, I think it's of critical importance, and the team gets better chemistry as a team starts to win and everybody becomes selfless instead of selfish. And when you become selfless as a team, not only is everybody rooting for one another, but everybody wants to set up everybody else. It's like the basketball team, everybody looking for assists. Somebody eventually gets a good shot after making 3 or 4 passes. That's selfless. I mean, everybody'd love to score 40 points, but somebody's got to get them the ball.
There's a chopper. And they get him.
Real good play by Hosmer at first as he's able to make that stretch toward the outfield side of the bag and keep his foot on the bag.
We're halfway home. We trail it 3-0.
Jeff Samardzija would love to duplicate that 5-pitch inning he had last inning, but to do it, you got to get by Escobar. When he leads off, more times than not, he is going to score. And one of the things you have to be very concerned about is the bunt. He primarily is a right center field hitter, but he will occasionally lay one down.
Outfield around to the right. Most cases, you're doing this guy when you throw him pitch middle out, you're doing him a favor.
That was a good moving fastball on the inside corner for strike 1.
You know, another thing that came into play in that Insiders last night was the fact of starting the clock on youngsters. And, you know, the one point that I think was left out in that is the first thing you've got to do, and the big case they're talking about right now is Chris Bryant of the Cubs, who just did everything he could in AAA, is that's out, number 1. But the first thing you've got to ask in that situation when you get a player, good-looking rookie like that, is who's his agent? First thing you got to ask.
There was another point. I don't know if it was last night or today. I was watching before the game today. Matt Vasgersian did a great job. I think the MLB is wonderful. I think they're comprehensive. They cover most everything. And the point was brought up. Are the Cubs one player away? If they are one player away, then you might be able to make a case for it. But they're not, and it's tough to make a case then for it, as well as, you know, control of the 7th year. Look,
Well, that's what the fans, a lot of fans don't understand. And again, who's Bryant's agent?
Yes.
There you go.
Mr. Scott Boras.
And he does not allow his agents. I just found this from a real good friend of mine. Found this out the other day. He will not allow any of his clients to sign an extension because agents. There are a lot of extensions signed, as we know. We see it as that ball hit deep into left field, and it's out of here. So Moustakas goes deep, opposite field, and it's 4-0.
Gives you an idea about how strong Mike Moustakas is. We talked about in the 2 spot, a lot of pressure taken off. It's our Ford home run replay, and you hit home runs when you're not trying. And Moustakas took this ball opposite way. In this ballpark, opposite field is a tough thing to do, but he's hit his first.
So here's Kane. He had an RBI single on a stolen base, and he is hit.
Kane now wants to go out and have a word, perhaps. Rusty Kuntz, cooler heads prevail.
And here comes Coop.
And Mike Moustakas apparently not particularly happy about that.
Well, I don't blame him. I don't blame Jeff. I never blame a guy if he feels like he's got to do something. Do it.
Looked like Jeff might have got under that ball, and it rode up and in. Don goes out there to settle things down and hope to get out of the inning without any further damage.
Well, on the flip side of the page now, I think what we're seeing is the beginning of a different personality of our ball club.
Yep.
And I love it. I absolutely, as you know, love it. Nobody's going to give you anything in this game. You got to take it.
Well, these teams are going to be battling all year long, as are the Indians, the Tigers. Minnesota's going to have a down year under first-year manager Paul Molitor. But the rest of the division fairly evenly matched.
And Kane will be looking to run. Broken bat. Bobble control. Now he gets him. But getting back to finish that little conversation for the fans out there, when you get a young kid, if you start the clock on him at the beginning of the season, then you're going to possibly lose a year, especially if it's a Boras of control, if it's a Boras client, because he never allows one of his clients to sign an extension. A lot of agents do.
You're also looking at 12 days. 12 days that will make the difference.
So for 12 days, you don't let the clock run, as that'll retire the side, but the opposite field homer. And we'll go to the 6th. It is 4-0 Kansas City. Loss in Cleveland as they visit the Orlando Magic. Bulls pregame live presented by Coors Light starts at 5:30 on CSN Chicago.
That'll be interesting to see the way a second-year pitcher handles a situation that's just happened. His team upset about a couple of their guys getting hit, specifically Kane getting hit after the home run by Moustakas. We'll see how Ventura reacts with Micah up #1.
Well, first of all, who got hit first?
There is no doubt that Avisaíl Garcia got hit first.
And got hit pretty good.
And so in the 2-for-1 philosophy,
yes, 2-for-1 has been carried out. That's just foul. No, this is not the place and time for Ventura, if in fact he wants to take a little umbrage at that, to do so with a 4-0 lead.
No, and you usually don't do it in the first hitter of an inning with great speed, because you can open up the door to lose a lead in a hurry. So we'll see how this plays out.
So there is his big league hit. And boy, you're talking about a guy that's got a chance to be a game changer. You're looking at him right there, #7.
There was an open competition for that spot in spring training. And Sanchez had a very good spring. In fact, he had an excellent spring.
Terrific.
But Micah Johnson had equally as excellent and can do just a couple more things, and he won the job outright. No denigration of Sanchez's ability, because he's got a chance to be a very good player before it's over. But right now, Micah Johnson can do a little bit more for the ball club.
Well, Sanchez is on the ball club, and it gives Robin, along with Gordon Beckham, tremendous options, especially in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings. So here's Adam. Takes ball 1.
Got some guys starting to get loose in that Kansas City pen, not throwing quite yet. And very close play at first base. Ventura has quick feet. That throw was right on the money. So Micah has got to be careful. Fortunately for him, that throw is on the dugout side of the bag. Otherwise, if that's on the other side, it's going to be really close.
Got him.
And they got him, and
that's not a good play at all.
Nope.
Now when you're trailing 4 runs, you cannot get picked off, especially early in the count.
The difference here is that this throw is on the outfield side of the bag, and young man gets picked off. 4 runs down.
Well, I'd rather see him get picked off 4 runs down than 1 run down, so he'll learn. I don't think he'll see that very much. But he's very aggressive. He gets good leads, and he will get picked off this season. There's just certain times you don't want to get picked off, or you can't. Two and two. Hosmer, he's one of the best.
Sox fans celebrate a special birthday or anniversary, or even host a business function in a Diamond Suite at a White Sox game. Diamond Suites can accommodate groups from 10 to 100. That's a lot of guests. Single game packages include great food, a great menu, as well as beverages and parking passes. To purchase, visit whitesox.com/groups.
So 2 out, nobody on, and here is Cabrera, a single and a ground out to Hosmer. Perfect feed. And that'll retire the side. We go to the bottom of the 6th, trailing by 4.
At 10 p.m. as your White Sox take on the Royals. Also, the first 20,000 fans will receive a Jose Abreu 2014 Rookie of the Year blanket presented by Beggar's Pizza. For tickets, call 866-SOX-GAME or visit whitesox.com/promos.
It's 4-0 Royals here in the bottom of the 6th inning. That ball hits softly. So 1 pitch, 1 out. Gordon now 0 for 2. If you're just tuning in, the Royals, with the exception of the home run by Moustakas to the opposite field last inning, every time they have had an opportunity with man on second or third to score, they've done it.
Well, they showed the bunt by Moustakas. They've stolen bases. They're doing what a team specializing in small ball does.
Yes.
They get a good base runner on. They take advantage one way or the other. And eventually, they bring him home.
Here's Alex. He had a broken bat single into left field. He's 1 for 2. There's a hanger hit hard, but foul. Well, Kansas City's offense too. When you get a team that strikes out the least amount in the major leagues last year, and the hardest run to drive in baseball is 2 out of men a second. That's the hardest run for a hitter. But when you get a team that puts the ball into play like they do, they will probably drive in more runs with a man on second, 2 out, than a lot of teams who hit 150, 160 home runs.
Well,
you strike out a lot.
They take a look at this today, and there's been 1 strikeout. That was straight change to Moustakas in the first inning. Other than that, everybody has put the bat on the ball.
Hit him on the fist.
Well, Jeff Samardzija historically is a big strikeout pitcher. You're talking about a guy with a good splitter, a better than average slider, and normally an excellent fastball that he'll go up after staying down with the early stuff and go up and out of the zone for the strikeout.
That's out of play. Well, what Samardzija, one reason I was hoping that we would get him, which obviously we did. One reason is because he's the kind of guy that will give a club and be sort of more or less the teacher of attitudinal problems.
Yeah.
He will get you. He will get you on the right track, and you need that. Flips that one into the right field. It's going to fall. Another soft single by Rios, inning with one out here in the sixth.
Here's our Xfinity high-speed action replay. It came in the second inning. Perez came up, took his ball down the right field line, and he coasted into second base with a two-base hit. One of the league's best catchers and one of the best young catchers to come along in quite some time.
There goes Rios. High throw, no good. Decent throw right there, gets it.
No chance at all. And fortunately, Rios doesn't pick up where the baseball is. It's a straight steal. He never looked at the hitter. By the time he found out it was in center field, it was too late to go to third.
That's into center field. So 2 down. Well, if you're talking about Perez, which we have given him his kudos since he came into this league and we saw him, he probably, to me, is maybe the best looking catcher we've seen since Ivan Rodriguez came in. And he made his debut against us in our ballpark when he was 19 years old. He got married in the morning in Oklahoma City. Came in, played that night, and got 2 hits. So here's Infante. But Perez, if you're talking about the total package for catcher, catching it, throwing it, running a ball game, controlling the tempo of a pitcher, getting base hits, knocking in big runs. Yeah, he's a total package.
And from the time Perez was in their minor leagues, from the time he signed a contract, he was the leader of every team that he was with. He not only led the staff, he helped lead the team, and that's what you'd love your catcher to be.
Well, you know, every now and then the club has a right to make a good sign.
Yeah.
Right.
They do that.
Well, they made a good sign with him.
Well, yeah, the contract extension that he signed was very team friendly. We're very happy to have him around for the length that they've got. By the way, speaking of great extensions, the Indians and Corey Kluber agreed to an extension, which is very team friendly, but it gives Corey Kluber certainly security, and for the Indians it ties up a Cy Young Award winner for at least 5.
There's the strike, and the count 3-1.
Indians also agreed to an extension with Carlos Carrasco. And last year, after moving out of the bullpen into the rotation, he became quite a pitcher, living up to all that hype he had with the Philadelphia Phillies.
Right to Gillespie, so that'll retire the side. We're into the 7th. We need 4 to tie.
He won the Rookie of the Year. He was an All-Star. Won the Silver Slugger. The rookie record for the White Sox at 36 home runs and led the major leagues in slugging at .581. Now, what can he do for an encore? What a year it was for Jose Abreu.
And with not a whole lot of protection.
Not much.
That's the one away. And if you look at it, not a whole lot of base runners on.
It still drove in 107.
Yeah. Yep. For RBI guys, that's one of the things that's talked about the least. That ball hit high, deep. They look up. You can put it on the board. Yes. A bullet out of here, and it's a 4-1 ball game.
Had a lot of folks ask me in spring training as Jose was dumping base hits into right field, inside out swing, just tapping the ball into right center and hitting .517. Does he still have the ability to pull the ball? Well, our Ford home run replay will tell you yes. Throw a high fastball, and he has plenty of ability to hit the ball as he crushes this one. A no doubter, and it's a 3-run Kansas City lead.
And here's LaRoche. Adam 0 for 2.
One more base runner, and that bullpen is probably going to start to work.
Uh-oh. Ventura's hurt. He is down and he is hurt.
He's looking at his right hand, and Kansas City is hoping it's a cramp. It could very well be
a cramp, yeah.
And if it is, they're going to breathe a sigh of relief because his thumb was all curled up.
You would know. You've had him.
Yep.
And we all are hoping that he is okay. You hate to see anybody get hurt, but especially good players. That's why people have asked me. I played football, basketball, played them all. What's the toughest sport to play? At what position? Pitching. Pitching to me is the most precarious. Not quarterbacking football. I was a quarterback in football. It's not that. It's pitching, because every time you throw a pitch, your career is in jeopardy. Every time.
It looked to me like the way he reacted, it was a cramp. Now they're going to take a look at it, obviously, because he's a very valuable piece of this organization. But he didn't react right away until he came off the mound, and the way he has his hand now, I would speculate on a cramp. I know everyone associated with this Kansas City team is hoping. So as he walks out and the intelligentsia here holds its breath, we'll step out and be back after these messages.
I think you made a good call.
Will receive a Chicago White Sox welcome mat. Purchase your tickets today by visiting whitesox.com/promos or calling 866-SOX-GAME. Our Honda call to the pen is a very talented, hard-throwing right-hander. There you look at Kelvin Escobar, one of a trio of relievers last year that had an ERA below 1.5. Excuse me, Kelvin Herrera. At 4-3, a 1.41 ERA. Most remarkable, only called on to save one game. Didn't do it because Greg Holland is called on to save just about every one of them.
Well, he's the hardest thrower they got out there. He'll hit 100 more than anybody else.
And what a bullpen this was, especially after Hochevar got hurt and they knew he wouldn't be able to play last year at all. They decided to take a hard throwing but failed starter, and I say failed because he had won in double figures as a starter but didn't really take the next step, and that was Wade Davis. And moving him into the bullpen where he could throw it, he didn't give up an extra base hit until July. He went all season without giving up a home run. It was just an enchanted season, one of the remarkable seasons out of the bullpen in history. And 3 guys in the pen. When you look at those numbers, Wade Davis, 1-point ERA, 72 innings, with 109 strikeouts, 90 strikeouts for Holland, 1.44 ERA. I mean, it truly was a 6-inning game. Now, the unfortunate part of this is it's been 6 innings. Kansas City had the lead last year at this point. Especially as the season moved along, you could phone in the rest of the game. But early in the season, before these guys have a chance to get into their rhythm, they can be had. Let's see if this Sox offense, which should have a little more thunder, is able to take advantage of Herrera in that occasionally he has some control difficulties, and he inherits a 2-1 count. Nobody out here in the bottom of the 7th inning, and Adam LaRoche looking for his first hit of the year.
Well, he hadn't had any problems with us.
He didn't have too many problems with most people.
No. I think there were a couple times he walked somebody, and outside of that, you can grab some bench.
One more out of the zone, and it'll be a little more promising. That was the one out of the zone that Adam couldn't check his swing. Last 2 pitches way out of the zone. You don't have a lot of time to make up your mind. And he goes down on strikes. 2 bad pitches. That strikeout will be credited to Herrera.
So here's Avi. Avi was hit by a pitch hit pretty good, and he also grounded to third. There's a 2-hopper, a lot of top spin, and that'll retire the side. No, that's just 2 out. Abreu. Let it off with a homer. So here is Alexei.
It's not like you can't hit a home run against Herrera. Last one he gave up was July of 2013. So it can be done, and Connor Gillespie was the man who did it.
That's into center field. So that'll retire this side. But the homer by Abreu, we're on the board. Meanwhile, 7th inning stretch, we trail it by 3. Thursday afternoon, we're back on CSN as our Sox look to score a win over Kansas City in the series finale. Coverage starts at 12:30 on Comcast Sportsnet. Samardzija into his 7th inning. He's given up just 6 hits, but they have 4 runs. They have been very, very much an executing ball club this afternoon. Every time they had a chance to score, they took advantage of it and did so.
Well, this is not how they started off last year, as a very opportunistic ball club, but this is how they ended up. They won 87 games, got in the wild card, took Oakland out, and came within one Madison Bumgarner of winning it all, because I don't think there was anybody on earth who could have hit him in the playoffs last year.
Well, if you just
in the World Series.
I tell you, when I watch a baseball game, I don't watch the ball, I watch the hitters. They had no chance. No chance. So here's Escobar. What a great performance. Even though I was an American leaguer pulling for Kansas City, I had to give Madison, when the last out was recorded, a standing O. You just don't see things like that very often.
Well, talking with a lot of the people around the Royals, they were saying they kept hoping that maybe he would tire. as the 7th game was ticking off inning after inning as he was in relief, they thought, well, you know, he's got to run out of gas sometime. And he probably did, only it was in December.
I tell you, that was some. What a great series. Kansas City winning the first 8 playoff games. So there is the leadoff walk. That is the 3rd walk.
And that will most likely be it for Samardzija. He's at the 92 pitch mark. You have a base stealer at first, and Jennings is coming in. We'll step out and be back after these messages. and 6+. He walked 3. He hit 2, much to the dismay of the Royals, who are a little unhappy with it. And it brings on our Honda call to the pen, and that's Dan Jennings. Jennings pitched with Miami Marlins last year. There, the numbers are very impressive. Although left-handers did hit him fairly well. Overall, you got a 1.34 ERA. They're not doing too much damage to you. And it is indeed a right thumb cramp for Yordano Ventura, which means that everybody associated with the Kansas City organization is breathing a tremendous sigh of relief. It's just the excitement, the opening day start. It was Shields last year, and you'd have to figure he got a little dehydrated, got the cramp, and he'll be fine. And he will make life miserable for a lot of American League hitters this year.
Well, you and I both are very happy. That's all it was.
Yeah, I mean, the young talents of the game, the stars, the guys like Ventura, throws as well as he does. I want to see him have a long and illustrious career and a losing record against the Sox. He came in with a 5.57 lifetime ERA, but threw a gem against our ball club last September. This young man is just going to get better and better as he refines his straight change, because the fastball is there. In fact, he will throw harder than he actually threw today, where he touched 95, 96 a couple of times. Last year he averaged 97.
Joe Moustakas. He has 1 for 3, an opposite field homer. Well, there's a guy that's going to help our attitude a lot this year. And we've got 2 captains, so to, you got a captain of a team. We have a captain of industry. We've got 2 captains of attitude. Chris Sale and Jeff Samardzija.
Yeah, you get a couple of guys at 1 and 2 in the rotation who, when they decide that either they're a little too close to the plate or swinging the bat a little too hard or getting too good to look at them,
or hitting some of our guys,
certainly hitting some of our guys, they won't have any problem getting their message across to the opposition.
Well, the Dodgers had their captain of attitude, and that was Don Drysdale. Cardinals had their captain of attitude, and that was Bob Gibson. The White Sox this year have our captains of attitude, Chris Sale and Jeff Samardzija. And you need guys like that on the ball club. We had a manager here, I'm not going to name his name, and a hitter who was getting drilled down in Tampa Bay. And we did nothing. Nothing. So I went into his office and closed the door after the game, and I said, "Are you going to do anything about this? About our hitter?" There was one particular guy got hit 3 times in that series. "You going to do anything?" He says, "Yeah, we're going to file it." I said, "What?" He says, "Yeah, I hadn't forgotten about it. We're going to file it." Well, that file never seemed to get out of the cabinet. And I'll tell you what it did. It just made all of our hitters and the whole club say, "What's going on here?" First of all, the manager shouldn't have to say anything anyway. They don't have to with a Chris Sale or Jeff Samardzija or a Johnny Danks. So there's the base on ball, and walks to Escobar Moustakas.
Join Chicago White Sox Charities in celebrating the 10-year anniversary of the 2005 World Series by purchasing a commemorative brick in Championship Plaza at U.S. Cellular Field. A limited number of bricks are available. For more information, visit whitesoxcharities.org/brickplaza.
$40,085 in attendance. They said they had a lottery on for the remaining tickets, and justifiably so. This is a terrific baseball town that has not had a chance to show the country just how good they are. because they have not put a product out there. Dayton Moore has done a terrific job. There's a high chopper on the play. If he can make it, yes. Watch out.
Well, Kane went down, and again, with a little mist, he might have hurt himself, although he goes into the dugout. Well, got a smile on his face, so apparently it's just embarrassment as opposed to injury. Slides off the bag, and boy, that's very fortunate. He could have easily broken his ankle. Easily.
Yeah. Let's don't get into that department.
No, you can remember that on a slide.
So here is Hosmer. Twice he has grounded out to his counterpart, and once to second. Infield in. First pitch strike.
One of the things about Hosmer as a first baseman, he's very accurate and has a very strong arm. So strong, in fact, that he actually touched 97 miles an hour as a pitcher in high school. I think he made the right choice, however, sticking with first base. But a left-hander who throws 97, you can do pretty well.
One and two. Well, if he had gone to the mound and threw strikes, what's this? His fifth year now?
Yeah.
By this time, he'd probably be making $20 million a year.
There's no doubt. He got $6 million to sign. He was a third overall pick in 2008. But he's a succession of first-round picks by the Royals that actually got to the major leagues.
Well, a breaking ball, big out. He gone.
Of course, if he had to face this kind of breaking ball all the time, he might have stayed on the mound.
All right, you got two out, ducks on the pond. First base open now. Alexi wants to know what's going on. You got Alex Gordon on deck, and you got Kendry Morales at the plate. They're going to put him on. That's my call. But Alex Gordon has hurt us in the past with two out and ducks on the pond.
Follow the White Sox all season in 2015 with MLB.com At Bat, the #1 app for live baseball. At Bat is up to the moment at any moment with in-game highlights, live look-ins, replay previews, radio broadcasts, and much, much more. Get MLB.com At Bat for your smartphone or tablet. With the Royals bullpen up and going, this becomes by far the biggest out of the game. As Wade Davis is throwing in the pen, not too many people have touched him in over a year.
Takes first pitch strike. Now, when Dan's getting his breaking ball over, he is a good left-hander. Now that pin. When he's not, he's very vulnerable.
That's what Rick Hahn thought, bringing over Jennings and Duke to shore up the left side.
Well, nice play by Tyler. That very well could have gone back to the screen. What Stoney said about that man out there, Davis, in that bullpen, you don't want to give him any more.
Nope. Nice play by Tyler Flowers, showing good mobility to his left and making sure it stays a 3-run deficit.
One of 3 ways that you judge a newcomer to your ball club after you've seen him for a while. One of 3 ways. Oh well, that's one. Or the other one is okay, that's 2. And the third one is I'm glad he's here, and we're glad that he's here.
Yeah, there were big problems in the pen overall last year, but especially from the left side.
Well, he had no left-handers. Virtually none.
Ran a few through there, but
well, yeah, but yeah, it was an unproductive position on the ball club. And the funny thing is, Surkamp finished up strong last year.
Kyle Drabek throwing in the pen.
Slowly hit. Little mix-up in communication right there, and that's one of the slowest base hits you will ever see go through an infield, and they score 2 to make it 6-1.
Looked like either one could have had it.
Yep.
Neither took it, and it's 2 runs driven in on the first base hit of the year by Alex Gordon, and this was costly. This should have been the last out. That's going to be it for Jennings, who should be out of the inning. Instead, he's out of the game, and Kyle Drabek is going to come in. So as he does come in, we'll step out and be back after these messages. Three innings, couple of hits. That's what he did last year. And he inherits runners at the corners. It's a 6-1 game. Not a real enviable position to be in against the Royals late in the game with that pin.
Well, the bleeder, that you're talking about This is the poster child for a bleeder up the middle. I mean, and again, the first rule in baseball is you got to catch the ball. You cannot give teams extra outs or they're going to beat you. And in this case, we gave them 2 extra runs in a fairly close ball game. So runners at the corners, 2 gone. Alex is 2 for 3. 2 absolute. 1 a broken bat, little single in the left, and 1 little duck snort in the right. Takes ball 1. Two and 0. Anytime you walk the first 2 guys leading off an inning, good chance they're going to score. But Dan Jennings did a heck of a job. Should have been out of this thing with no runs. There's a strike, and not to go instead. Another fine job from a good umpire behind the plate, Jerry Lane. No disputes from hitters in this game.
No, you haven't seen anybody look back or nobody complaining about anything as far as the balls and strike calls.
Yeah, when you don't notice them, that's when they've done a good job. Jacks it up in the count 3-1.
Salvador Perez, who started off the scoring with an RBI double in the second, waiting in the on deck circle.
That is high, deep. And the count got him. 3 more going to cross the plate, so it's a 5-run inning, and they lead it 9-1.
Fourth home run replay, and the Royals are celebrating their American League Championship rings they received before the game. Putting this one away late.
Going away. Now, last year during the season, which we had a lot of them, leadoff walks. 42.2% of them scored. The dreaded leadoff walk. We had 128 leadoff walks and 42.2% of them scored. So that one missed play cost us so far in this thing 5 runs.
Yep. That'll happen. Double plays you don't turn. There was one of those this evening.
Got to catch the ball. That's a can of corn. And that'll retire the side. But they have blown it open. Going to the 8th, they lead it by 8. For the Royals, it'll be the big hard-throwing right-hander Wade Davis. Davis, of course, a starter who was okay. He was okay as a starter. But all of a sudden, they moved into that bullpen, and boy, did he ever come alive. Davis, 6'5", 225 pounds, out of Lake Wales, Florida.
He came over from Tampa Bay along with James Shields in what turned out to be just an outstanding trade for Dayton Moore. At that point, he was a full-time starting pitcher. I'm not sure they even thought about the fact that he would become one of the dominant relievers in all of baseball.
So here's Gillespie. Takes first pitch strike. .29-year-old right-hander. One of the big turnarounds in that area was the guy who won 20 games. He was 20-8. Pitching for the Red Sox. 20 games in Cleveland he won.
Dennis Eckersley?
Yes.
Yep.
And they made him a reliever.
Not just
and
a
of course, reliever. Not just a reliever. He now resides in Cooperstown.
Yep.
Probably in our career, yours and mine, it's almost 100 years between us, the best control of anybody we've ever seen.
It was really unbelievable, especially with the motion he had and the angles in which he threw it. There was one other guy that followed a similar path and might just follow that similar path at Cooperstown. That's John Smoltz.
He's going to get there. Smoltz will get there.
But a dominant starter who became a dominant reliever.
Yeah. Smoltz probably had better stuff than Eckersley, but he didn't have quite as good a control. Nobody did.
Nope.
9-1. Easy play. So here's Shuck
coming on for Tyler Flowers.
Yeah, still early on, and the game has been blown out like this late in the ball game. You go ahead and get some guys in the bat, break the ice a little bit.
Especially knowing you have the off day tomorrow.
Yep.
The guys still don't have a whole lot of rhythm, although Shuck had a very good spring.
And again, the great illustration on first rule in baseball is catch it. One little play which will not go as an error. Should have been made by either guy, and it led to 5 runs. That strike evens the count at 1. And the off day tomorrow. Then Wednesday, Jose Quintana against Danny Duffy. Quintana, very deceptive 9-11 for us last year with a 3.32, and Duffy 9-12 for them. If Duffy's throwing strikes, he is double trouble.
He had a rib cage injury last year after undergoing Tommy John surgery in 2012, so they're worried about durability from Duffy. But his stuff is great, his arm is terrific, and they're hoping that he can secure that number 2 spot in the rotation.
Well, in 2013, if he doesn't go down, Kansas City probably wins the division. Close play, they just do get it.
Just like we promised you earlier in the game, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. And it's the first major league hit in the career of Micah Johnson. He will keep that souvenir the rest of his life, and then he'll wonder about how he got picked up.
I'm getting ready to say he'll probably wind up 20 years from now remembering that more than the first base hit. Oh, he'll remember the first hit, but the thing that'll stand out was getting picked off. Very talented young man. Very well educated. There's the strike. That one at 94. Softly hit. So a very easy inning for a big Wade Davis. What new? And we'll go to the bottom of the 8th.
Thank you, our Chuck. And we're going to head into the bottom of the 8th inning. It's been all Kansas City 9-1. And Giovanni Soto checks in behind the plate. He had a very good spring, secured the spot, and threw out 3 base runners trying to steal in 1 game.
That's foul. 9 runs on 9 hits. 1 run on 4 hits for us. Yeah, Giovanni had a good spring. Very good, as a matter of fact. Big gap out there in left center. And the count 1-2 to Escobar.
He's been on twice. He's scored twice. And regardless of what he hits, that's why he's so valuable at the top of this lineup.
Well, if you're an impartial fan watching this game, there's a base hit right back through the middle. Then you can say, boy, that Kansas City club really executes well, because they've done it today. And we have not.
Ryan Madsen, a right-hander with a very good arm. Some injuries have curtailed what was a very promising career, and of course the Royals are hoping that he can add to something that's already just about as good as anybody in baseball, and that's their bullpen. Last time he was in the major leagues pitching was 2011.
Staka struck out, and that's lined hard down into the. Whoa! Just foul. Just foul. Struck out his first trip, had a sacrifice bunt in the 3rd. Hit an opposite field homer in the 5th, and walked and scored last inning.
And there is the closer, David Robertson. With the off day tomorrow, you wouldn't mind seeing your closer come in and pitch to a hitter or so.
Said he feels good.
Hope he gets an opportunity to close a lot of them.
Well, he closed 39 of them last year, only 5 blown ones, and 2 of those coming against us. Boy, that's another base hit.
The problem is on a follow through, and this is just what some pitchers decide. When you really fall off the mound to one side or the other, sometimes you get turned around, you just can't field your position well enough, and this is a squibber off the end of the bat. Dial falling off the mound to the first base side with really no chance at all to get back, and that is a very, very short base hit.
That was hit almost as soft as that one that got in. That blader up the middle. It led to 5 runs. Here's Kane. Down in front of the plate.
That was a nice block by Giovanni Soto. That was a 57-footer. He was able to get the glove up and knock it down. Not that it's critical in this game, but it's a good habit to get into. He reached out, able to get a good piece of the glove on it, extending his arm, keeping it in front, and the runners don't advance.
Yeah, if he stays back with the glove on that one, good chance it's going to get away.
It's going to screen.
Yeah. He got a cookie right there and missed it. So Kane upset with himself. Grabs the strike for a 1-2 count. Take your time. And they get him. Just do get him. 2 down.
I think Kane, in the back of his mind, remembering the last time he hit the bag and spun out, decided to slow down a bit as he got to the bag, realizing in a 9-1 game, beating the double play isn't all that essential.
Well, he took a header last time.
He did indeed.
But it was a good play by Alexis. If you can stay right there on Hosmer. If he hits it hard, it's going to be foul. Chances are he's not going to hit it at all. Another one down there, and then a high fastball, and see you later. Softly hit. So that'll score another one. It was 10-1. Broken bat, little duck strike.
Now, there's been a few well hit base hits today. There's also been quite a few bleeders, and if you keep putting the bat on the ball, and again we talked about this team being the toughest to strike out in the major leagues last year, if you keep making contact, and good things are going to happen.
Yeah, at least you got a chance. So here's Morales. By. Took a funny hop. Abreu upset with himself, so they're going to hold Hosmer now. So this is one of those. No team likes to lose a ball game. Ever. But if there's one game, especially when you get blown out, that you don't mind, you're on the road and it's opening day.
No, in this game, look, it was fairly close early, but late, very good baseball team put this game away, and then of course when they do have the lead after 6, not too many teams are going to come back on Kansas City this year.
The old formula is most of the time very, very true. You win 60, you're going to lose 60. That's what you do with the other 42. Because I don't think anybody in this division is going to win 90 games this year.
No, there's a very good chance the
division,
like
Pac-Man.
Yeah, division's going to cannibalize itself. Max Scherzer lost his debut, losing to the Mets 3-1 in Washington, and giving up 300 runs. Clay Buchholz shut out Philadelphia 8-0, so he wins his opening start. Bud Selig was honored in Milwaukee by throwing out the first pitch. Then it looked like Bud actually pitched that game because Colorado beat Milwaukee 10-0 on 16 hits.
Well, 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. There's no question Bud Selig. by all accounts, the greatest commissioner baseball has ever had.
Baseball has experienced an economic renaissance, the likes of which might never be seen again.
And Tony Petitti and all those guys, MLB, have enhanced it. So he strikes him out. We're into the ninth, trailing by 9.
And he hasn't pitched in 3 injured seasons. So he made the ball club. You see his last appearance, September 28th of 2011. Boy, that's a lot of injuries that sidelined him. Obviously a study in persistence as he's fought his way back.
At one time, he could get it up there in a hurry. Adam Eaton. Adam is 0 for 3. And there's the base hit. So a good way to start. Let's give him a finish right here. At least put a few on the board, get you in a better frame of mind. You want to have something positive, if you can, taken out of this game for tomorrow. Not tomorrow, but Wednesday.
Wednesday night. A rare first series night game.
Cabrera takes up high. 10-13-0 for them. 1-5-0 for us. This should be 2 down.
Here's our AT&T multi-view, and it is a home run in the 7th inning, leading off the 7th, and things looking okay at that point. This made it a 4-1 game, but Herrera came in quickly, 1-2-3, and that was that.
That's what bullpens are for. Three and 0 the count. LaRoche on deck. Stay fair.
Boy,
it won't.
So say it hit that 3-0 fastball a mile. Unfortunately, out a little too quickly on it. .90-mile-an-hour fastball, hooking, foul.
Change up high. So here's Adam. Adam 0 for 3 today. An oddity all spring long when he hit .517 to lead the Cactus League. He had 1 home run, 508 he hit. He had 1 home run and 1 walk. Today he's got 1 home run and 1 walk.
Just missed a second home run.
Your comment about the last thing on his mind in spring training was hitting home runs.
No, just flip the ball into right field. See as many pitches as you can see.
That's the key. Seeing more pitches.
And seeing how the pitchers will work him. Few people who really didn't know him or understand his approach were concerned that maybe somehow, miraculously, over the wintertime, he had lost his power. Well, obviously, we know that was never the case.
That ball is hammered but foul. For a rookie, he's got as good an approach at the plate as any rookie I have ever seen. Manny Ramirez had a great approach as a rookie. Frank Thomas had a great approach. We're not talking about swings or anything. We're talking about approach to hitting as a rookie. Richie Allen had a great approach as that's popped up. And when it comes down, this game will be over. So we come in here. It's going to be a tough 25 of our first 28 games, Steve, against the Central. And Samardzija went out there today, and really the numbers are not going to show it. Really, he wasn't good, but he wasn't bad.
No, it was one of those days where you had a team sky high from getting their rings from last year. Kansas City did everything right. Escobar got on base 3 times and scored 3 times, and this was just all Kansas City. So it's one of those that not frustrating. You didn't play a particularly good game. You know that. You take tomorrow off and come back and get them on Wednesday.
Well, we did not beat ourselves. They just, as Steve mentioned, beat us. So, for my partner, Steve Stone, our director, Jim Angier, our producer, John Waldron, our associate producer, Chris Campton, our technical manager, Mark Harper, also the mayor, Mean Joe Groove, and for the executive producer, Jim Corno Jr., this is a Hawk. So long, everybody. Coming up next, Subaru Postgame Live with Chuck and Bill. You've been watching White Sox baseball on Comcast Sports.